I would get married in 1988. I got pregnant in the fall of 1989. In the spring of 1990, I gave birth to Morgan and Blake and Brittany. My gifts from God, because I had endured so much and that He trusted me to raise these perfect, beautiful miracles. And every night I would put these babies to bed. I would look at their little tummies going up and down and make sure they were breathing. And I would go back into my room and I would pray and I would ask God to watch my children and to protect them and to feed starving babies in China. And while you're at it, God, and you're overseeing the universe, do me this big favor and have Ronald Cotton die. But on his way to hell, I wanted him to know what that night had been like for me. And then I wanted him to die. And I would pray that prayer for 5 years. Because it's okay for good people to pray for bad things, for bad people. God understands all that. In the spring of 1995, Mike Galden, who had been the original investigator on the case, came to visit me with the ADA from Alamance County, North Carolina. And he said, Jennifer, Ron's still claiming he's innocent. Now, we know he's not, but he wants this thing called DNA testing to take place. And the problem is, your blood from the rape kit has disintegrated after 11 years. And so if the court orders this test to go through, you'll have to submit to a new blood test. And my reply was very simple. I'm really busy. I've got 5-year-old triplets, and I'm not doing this again. So we're going to go to my doctor right now, and I'm going to give you my blood, and you're going to run that test because I'm done. Because it's going to show what I've seen for 11 years, and that is Ronald Cotton is guilty of the crime. And they said, of course, we know that. So I went to my doctor. I gave him my blood. I didn't think about it. Off it went to the lab. March rolled into April, and April rolled into May, and May rolled into June, and they came back to my house. And they looked at me in my kitchen and they said, Jennifer, DNA doesn't belong to Ronald Cotton. It's Bobby Poole's. People like to ask me, what did you do? What did you say? And I don't remember. Mike Galden tells me I fell to the floor and I cried. I don't remember. I remember feeling like the earth opened up and swallowed me. I remember thinking to myself, what do I do? What do I say? Am I safe? Are my children safe? What happens? What happens now? Where's Ron? I mean, what happens now? Fear paralyzed me. Fear debilitated me. I went to the school and I told them, you have to protect my children because they're going to get hurt. Someone's going to hurt them. There's an angry person that's going to want vengeance. He's going to want revenge. I would want revenge. I would hate you. I would want to hurt you. If you took 11 years of my life, I would want to hurt you. I was afraid. I was terrified. The following year, I got a phone call from a man from Boston, Massachusetts, a man by the name of Ben Loderman. He wanted to do this documentary about the fallibility of eyewitness ID. He wanted to know would I like to tell my story into a video camera so that he could play it for everyone in the United States to see what a terrible person I was. And I said, you know, this is not something I'm really interested in doing, and so, no, thank you. He said, well, Ron's going to tell his story. And I thought, well, dang it, because if he tells his story, who's going to tell my story? And if they get it wrong, then I'm going to look like a really, really bad person, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. You're going to do Ron's story here, and then you're going to come to Winston-Salem, you're going to do my story here, but we're not going to be in the same room because Ron's going to jump out and kill me. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And over the fall of 1996, they began to put together what Jennifer saw. And they would tell me things like, Ron is such a nice man. He is the sweetest person. He is the most gentle human being. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, you are setting me up to be killed. Like, this is a death trap. That can't be. That can't be. What Jennifer saw aired in February of 1997. The last thing I say in the film is I know Ronald's innocent, but I still see him in my nightmares. And the last thing Ronald says is, I know Jennifer's sorry, but I really need to hear that from her. In April of 1997, in a small church about 1.5 miles from where I'd been raped 13 years before, I waited for this man. This 6'4" beautiful person came into the pastor's study, and before I could get my thoughts together, I began to sob. And I looked at him and I said, Ronald, if I spend every minute of every hour of every day for the rest of my life telling you I'm sorry, could you ever forgive me? And he took my hand and he began to cry, and he said, Jennifer, I'm not angry at you. I forgave you years ago. We were victims of the same person. Bobby Poole victimized both of us. The system failed both of us. We spent the next 2 hours crying and talking about what those years had been like and what we had lost and what our hopes were for the future. We left each other that day in the parking lot in each other's arms, promising that we would always be together. Ronald is one of my best friends. I love him very, very deeply. I would tell you that he loves me too. What I realized that day is that I wanted to be more like Ronald Cotton. I wanted to find a way to forgive Bobby Poole. Not because Bobby Poole asked for forgiveness, nor did he ever even know that I gave it, but because it was about taking back my life. It was about not giving the harm one more minute of my life. The next 16 years, Ronald and I would work very, very hard on improving the criminal justice system, working on eyewitness reforms, working on compensation statutes. That day in June of 2000, when I was in Texas, changed my life. I left that day knowing that for the rest of my life, I would be an abolitionist for the death penalty. I left that day with a deeper understanding of how the criminal justice system fails. It was easy for me to reconcile the criminal justice failures when we talk about wrongful convictions and people that are innocent. But it would also challenge me to get deeper involved and work on juvenile justice and mass incarceration, and working with people who aren't innocent, and to hear their stories. And what I have come away with is knowing that every person I've ever met that has been involved in the criminal justice system, that has been incarcerated, started out as a victim. And what I've come away with understanding is we do a terrible job of taking care of our children. And we wait until the worst thing they can ever possibly do, and then we throw them away without any hope of redemption, without any opportunities for change. And how interesting it is in this country that we measure people on the worst thing they've ever done as opposed to the best thing that they've ever done. So it's been my honor and my privilege to be here with you tonight. I'm honored to be on Team Tyra. I hope next year that she will be here with you. So I guess at this point I'll end, and I want to thank you for your time, for your incredible attention, and thank you.